Welcome back to the Eden Podcast. So glad to have you back. If this is your first time, well, welcome. You can carry on listening. It'll all make sense. But we also did one last week. So make sure that you subscribe, however you're listening to this, and then you won't miss another one and be sad. So that's good. So I'm joined again by Bex and Matt, who we had on last time. They're not going to be on every week, but they did a really good job last time. We are again in Suffolk, and we are absolutely freezing today.
Yeah.
Bex, you're now
I'm
21.
I'm physically shivering.
How you
I'm
finding
21.
it?
It's great.
It was your birthday, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
What did you do?
I went to see Jurassic World.
Oh, yeah. Thoughts?
Oh, amazing. I mean, it's just so epic.
I think
Everyone should
anything
go
with
and
Chris
see it.
Pratt in it is...
I know. Also, he loves Jesus. So.
He does love Jesus.
So, yeah, that was really fun. And then I went back up to Nottingham and did something with my housemates. So that was good as well.
Oh, lovely. What about you, Matt? What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Oh, it's been hectic. But yeah, I mean...
Just life?
Yeah, life.
Did you go with Bex to see Jurassic World?
I did, it was brilliant.
And did you also enjoy Chris Pratt?
I also enjoy Chris Pratt. He's a legend.
He is. So this week we are going to be talking a bit more about the heart betwined. We're going to be talking. We're going to be exploring and asking some questions about the heart behind the Eden Gathering, which is happening on the 5th of July at the Mix in Stowmarket. Shameless plug, but we really do want you to be there. It's going to be a great night. Don't miss out. Don't miss out. That's something that you shouldn't say or should say. I can't remember. I'm sure that's a marketing thing. FOMO and millennials. There's something about that somewhere online. Probably on Reddit.
You will miss out if you don't come.
Exactly. So, we'll get into kind of like why Eden is a thing. But I'd be interested to hear about... I hear all these things about millennials totally dropping out of church and not being engaged in church. And there's this big crisis. I mean, this isn't church media. This is secular media saying... there are no 20s to 30s in church anymore. What's going on? I mean, Matt, are you in church? What's your story? Are you a Christian? I take it you are.
Yeah, so I am a Christian. I've been around. My dad's always worked in church world. Well, since I was born, always worked in a church world to some extent. So I grew up in church and around church, and I actually haven't been. So I moved up to Nottingham almost a year and a half ago, maybe. And I've been around churches, and Nottingham has so many churches, and like some fairly big ones as well. And it's sort of a big student hub, so churches that set out to go for people my sort of age. So, but no, I haven't been in church for the year and a half I've been in Nottingham. I just haven't. I've looked. I haven't been able to settle anywhere, and
I'd love to know why. If you're happy to share, I'd love to unpack that a bit. You are a millennial, and you're not settled in church.
No, but you love Christian, Jesus. I love Jesus, and I am passionate about helping other people connect with Jesus, and I think it is. Yeah, I'm a card carrying Bible nerd, and I love it. So
I've never heard that phrase before.
Yeah,
Bible nerd.
I love church. I think church is the best. I haven't been able to connect, which has been tough. But yeah.
And why do you think that is? Is it style? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm just genuinely interested to.
Definitely not style. So my job is music. I do music full time. So you would assume that I have high standards on kind of the music in church, and I don't. I'm happy with. When I started looking around Nottingham, I was like, oh, it'd be nice if it kind of sounded like this and looked like this, and had this sort of demographic there, and it got to the end, and I was like, I want it to be helpful. Was my number one. I want to go or to be able to take mates and for them to come away and be like, yeah, that's
so it has to be invitational.
Yeah.
It has to be something that you're not embarrassed by.
Yeah. But I wanted, if I brought a friend, I'd want them to be able to go away and be like, oh, that's resolved attention for me, or that's helped me move forward in kind of understanding the world, or understanding why I feel like this, or why I struggle with this, or kind of a better way of approaching this. And it didn't. The amount of times I went to church service and they just, God loves you and have a good week. And I was like, come on, there are better places to be on Sunday than just hearing that shouted at you. And then the other big one is I think it is a no-brainer that church should be welcoming and inviting to people that aren't Christians and don't regularly attend. I don't think you should have to believe and agree with us to still want to be around church. And it just, that wasn't what I found in Nottingham. You would go and there was one church that I was really kind of trying to just push on with and get involved in and serve where I couldn't be on the music team, they were very obviously set up for people who believed the same things I believed, and it would be uncomfortable if you walked in not believing all the same things we believed, and I couldn't understand why, because for me it's a no-brainer. You welcome people like a normal human being. It's not everyone knows how to do it. It costs to know how to do it. You walk in and you get a smile and they kind of, it's a welcoming environment. Why can't church do that? It's not a difficult thing. And they were saying, we give people a Bible because that's the most important thing to us. And I was like, there it is. They don't think people are the most important thing going. And so that for me has been, I think the issue is that it's church isn't complicated. It's a group of people who know that they're trying to learn how to do life together and to give their life away for other people. It primarily should be a community of people loving each other and not in the kind of happy, clappy, friendly, like everyone wants like this crazy kind of love that you do give yourself away for other people. And that's why I love church so much, because I've grown up with people that have kind of bailed me out of situations or come around in the middle of the night to help me out with stuff. And when you experience that kind of like give everything away kind of love, it can't be beaten. And I'm part of sports teams. I'm part of band things. I haven't found that anywhere else.
It's interesting. And do you think? Sorry, Bex. I'll bring you in.
Fine.
Bring you in a sec and hop in if you want to. Do you think the church scene, the way that you have everything that you've just described, do you think that says more about the church scene where you live, or you as a person?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so I think church should be done with unchurched people in mind. I think people are the most important thing on this planet, and it's a no-brainer that church should think about people, because the issues we face aren't, I mean, I'm a Christian, and the issues that I face are no different to the issues that my non-Christian mates at school or at work or football have. We all struggle with the same things, and so you should treat people like people, and you should treat them well because they're valuable. So I think that's definitely something that I view as important. But I've been to churches all over the UK, and it seems to be the case that it's difficult to find a church that will not. Lots of churches say, we want non-Christian people to feel welcome, and they might say, hey, if you're new, great, welcome, and that for me isn't doing it. That's not making non-Christian people feel welcome.
Do you think you've been spoilt with a church experience?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up at the Forge.
Yeah, so we should just say as a prefix, we actually all know each other from this church called the Forge, which is based in Suffolk. That's how we've all kind of come together today. So just in case you didn't know that, sorry, carry on.
And Eden's a big lot. Almost, well, all the people pretty much that are volunteering and that are making this thing happen are from the Forge. So So the Forge, and Dad is a leader at the church, so he's always sort of really valued making unchurched people feel welcome and making it easy for people to connect with God who are far from God, or just even if you struggle with the God thing, if you're curious or you don't like, you should still be able to connect with me and connect with the other people at church and still feel like you belong and that people care about you and that you can have people without having to believe the same things we believe. And the Forge have done that brilliantly, and the leadership team get that, and that's awesome. But it's our default position is to think about us and the people around us, so it's hard. So the Forge have struggled with it. Every church struggles with it. I personally have struggled with it, where you kind of get into a rhythm and you do just start. It's easier to think about me and the people that I know and the people that I'm like and the things we all believe in. So I think churches all over the place do it, and they neglect people who aren't part of them, because that's just kind of the default position for everyone. But that's something that I really don't want to happen with Eden. We're very intentional about You should be able to bring your mate, and they might not agree with everything. They might be curious. They might be searching or looking or asking questions. And whether they don't come to a decision or they come to a different decision, or they should still be able to come to our event and feel part of it and feel like we're their people and that we care about them and that we would drop everything and come running at 2:00 in the morning if they needed us. So, yeah, that will be at the heart of what we do when we launch on July 5th and sort of push on from there.
Good. I can't wait to see how this all works. Bex, what about you? What's your experience in church? And are you in church? And
yeah.
What does it look like for you?
Quite a different experience in terms of upbringing, especially from Matt. But I grew up in a Church of England church in Ipswich, where I was born. I was there for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And
does that mean people like still pinch you on the cheek? Go back. Like,
I wish I could say, they say, haven't you grown? But really, I haven't grown since I was about 12, so they don't say that. So I was there for 18 years. It was a wonderful environment to be a part of. I was very much a part of what I would describe as a family community there, which was very important to me as I was growing up. But then a lot of the young people there were a couple years older than me, and there weren't many young people coming up from the ages below. So a lot of my friends went off to university or went away or drifted away from church. And I was left as being sort of the only person my age in the church, and I was finding it harder and harder to sort of push for changes which would mean that people like my friends who had drifted away from church because it just didn't feel like it had any real life, real world application or had any sort of bearing on everything else that was going on in their lives. I wanted to push to see that changed, and I did find that increasingly difficult. And at the same time, I came along to the Forge for the first time, and I found there a community that was certainly trying to do things that were engaging young people and trying to get people along who weren't familiar with church or were disenfranchised with church and that sort of thing. So I became part of the Forge, and then the last 3 years I've been in Nottingham, and I've also found it very difficult to connect in with church there. So it's been a varied sort of relationship with church that I've had throughout my whole life, but it's always been sort of the thing for me. Yeah.
And that's really tough. And just to say as well, like Matt said it, we love church.
Yeah.
We think church is a good idea. But we're just being honest with our struggles, and that's kind of the point of this podcast as well, is that there's no point being fake and saying that it's all happy clappy. Like, absolutely, it's really hard, and that must be especially hard for you two, as you are in a relationship. It says so on Facebook.
It must be true.
I assume as Christians that you've put God at the forefront of your lives and your hearts. That's what being a Christian is. But how do you grow together in your faith without growing together in church?
Yeah.
How does that?
So this is really difficult. And certainly it was for us, it's not just that sort of faith is the most important thing, but both of us are very passionate about going into church work in the future. Right. So it isn't just that God is like at the forefront. It's also like church wants to be our priority. And actually, certainly, I hope Matt won't mind me sharing the ins and outs of our relationship. But I think when we were both in Nottingham and struggling to get connected in church, I felt suddenly like there was a big thing missing in our relationship, because church had always been like the thing that we were directed towards as a pair. And that's been tough. And certainly I think both of us have a similar heart for church that engages people who don't know God. But there are things that I can tolerate more. There are things that Matt can tolerate more. And then there's, it does create sort of tension and difficulty. And also, I'm coming to the end of a 3-year period now where I haven't been connected heavily into church. And I have really felt the toll on my faith, which I never thought would happen. I thought it's hard, but it's not essential. I can be a follower of Jesus by myself without church. And I cannot, I'm getting to the end of a period now where I'm like, I have
really
to be
need
in
something.
community again because I am really struggling. So yeah.
Oh, thanks
Yeah.
for being so honest with that. And it is just hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is just hard. And I'll be interested to see whether, just hearing a bit of your guys' story as well, is the people that you've grown up with in church, whether, you know, I'm just trying to establish some themes maybe that you see as to why people might be in a similar place to you. Like, is it just you that's not settled in church, or is it all your friends? Or, you know, actually no one from my age group is in church anymore. We all feel the same way. We love Jesus, but we can't get into church, or have people fallen away from the faith? What are some of the reasons why you think millennials in general are turned off going to church?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. So people at my work, there's majority of them don't go to church. When I talk about Jesus, and they're well up for listening, having conversations and debating things. But the second you mention church, I went when I was younger. I don't want to do it anymore. Or
Judgmental.
Yeah, and isn't it? I mean, when was the last time you heard people talk about the church and it wasn't because they were smashing people about getting married if they were gay, or someone disagreeing with something else that just the rest of the world were doing? And it baffles me. Like you hear all the time people saying, "Oh, the church have said the rest of the world is wrong and we're outraged about it." And it's so clear in the Bible that if you don't subscribe to being a Jesus follower, if you don't want to be a Christian, you don't have to. You're off the hook. You don't. We say we don't do this stuff, and we think it's better to live life a certain way. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't agree with us, leave you alone. That's not. We shouldn't be. People shouldn't be. Oh, the Christians have said non-Christians do this, and it's not.
Right.
That's not our business. We don't. We're meant to love people and care for people and drop everything and come running if they need it. We're not meant to be the judge and executioner for everyone's behaviour and what they believe and what they think. And it's Bible's really clear about, if you're not a Christian, we're meant to love you. We're not meant to tell you how to live your life.
So it's really interesting. Like, just recently, it's been the royal wedding. And when you said, when was the last time the kind of church has been shed in a good light? And I think that was the first time. What was his name, that preacher? Was it Isaac?
Michael Curry?
Michael Curry, that was it.
Yeah, the American fella.
Yeah, now I'm hungry. But I think that was the first time that I think people were like, hey, church is all right. Like, actually, I quite like the Jesus that he's describing. I'm quite liking the love that he's describing, and it kind of set people on fire. But for too long, that hasn't been the case.
And also, you notice, I was watching, I think it was Dermot O'Leary was talking about, he was sort of doing like a rundown of what had happened at the royal wedding, and he was talking about Bishop Michael Curry's sermon, and one of the things he said was, I bet you would never see a sermon like that on a Sunday in England.
Only every week.
And that's what I found so interesting about it, was people, they liked the message, it was really good, but the first thing they're thinking is, oh, this is very, very unusual. This isn't what you get in church, because church isn't this sort of impassioned speech. It's something that we think of as a bit sort of more muted and a bit more sort of, we associate maybe church with like traditional British stiff upper lip like kind of values, and like a bit more prim and proper, you know what I mean?
And I think so much of that is what that helped him out, helped him get one leg up, I think, is the fact that he was American. I think that actually the American church has a different stigma attached to it than the UK. I think people, when you describe American church, think of Oh Happy Day, think of Black Gospel, the scenes from films. But when you say to someone Church of England, then you start thinking, oh, here we go. They're going to waft some sort of smell at me and light candles, and it's going to be weird.
And this is actually where I slightly differ from Matt in terms of where I think we're missing out on connecting with the millennial generation, is certainly actually in the older generation, this sort of maybe the judgmental side of church, or those experiences where people have been hurt from church and things like that. People have drifted away or said rejected church and been like, I don't want to be a part of that. And actually it's their children, which are now the millennial generation.
Yeah.
So they're not even growing up in church.
Yeah.
And certainly my experience has been not that they think, oh, well, church, they're judgy or they don't agree with the things I agree with. They might get fired up in the moment if they were faced with like a debate, where people were talking about something like homosexuality. Certainly in the moment they'd be like, I don't like that view. I hate that. I want to distance myself from that. But in their sort of day-to-day life, the real reason that they're not connecting with church is because church is easy to dismiss.
Right.
So I certainly, when I talk to people at university about faith, like housemates who I've lived with who aren't Christians and haven't grown up in church, it's always, that's lovely for you. I can see that it makes you a nice person. It's nice that you want to take care of people. That's nice.
Good for you.
They don't, yeah, exactly. But it's easy for that to be it. So they can look at me and they can see that I'm part of church and they go, that's nice, keeps you busy on a Sunday morning. And it's small and it's a part of life. Me being a follower of Jesus is a part of my life, not the full thing.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to dismiss and it's easy to overlook. And actually, yes, the church might have taken a stand. Well, the church that we see in the media might be taking a stand against things that people don't like the church speaking out against. But actually, I don't think that people are really that bothered because they're like, yeah, the church doesn't agree with it, but I don't care. They don't have any traction. They don't have any clout in my own life. So I can just sort of put them in a box. Like the church is kind of diminishing and, put that aside. I don't need to worry about that because that's not big. And really, I think what gets to the heart of that is that we are increasingly finding people who are sort of maybe Sunday attenders or churches, a nice thing, we're holding on to good values, good Christian values. And this whole life all in radical, laying my life on the line, going out into the world and really, really loving people, not just, setting up a nice stall at the fete, and giving out like, I don't know, nice things. Like really life on the line, loving people. That's something that you can't ignore. And that's certainly something that I'm excited about with Eden is that we're not just looking to get people along to a gathering once a week. We're looking to inspire people to be part of a community which is really all in, basically.
So can you unpack? So the reason why Eden has come about is to kind of fill this need and some of the themes that we've been discussing. Matt, can you tell me a little bit about Eden? Why? I mean, I think we kind of know why. It's because we've established kind of your heart, but tell us how it came about and what it is. And for those that might not know, it's more than just a meetup, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So Eden really is. There's a gathering of people that are already around, that are already doing. Like I was talking about church and people that would drop things at 2 a.m. and come running or help me out if I ever got stuck in a situation. There's already a group of people who do that and who love really well and who help build my faith. But there's never been an environment set up specifically for people of my age and up like kind of the 18s to 30, 35 kind of the millennial generation. There's nothing been set up specifically with us in mind. And with us in mind to bring our mates along. We don't want to have this tension of, I really enjoy my church mates, but I also love my football mates and I love my work mates. And you want to be able to be part of a place that's been set up for all, because we're Christians and non-Christians deal with the same things. So we should be able to get along and have the same sort of environment set up for us. And so it came about because people of our age were coming up and saying, we need something to get together, because as Becky was saying, it's difficult doing life as a Christian on your own. And so people are saying we know that church is important. We know that we need people around us to help us do this. But there's nothing that's set up specifically for us. So church is great or church is not great, or however people view it. But everyone was saying it feels like we're attending someone else's thing. And so Eden is set up as our thing. It's an environment. There are 3 parts to it. There's the event, which happens once a month on a Thursday. It's kicking off 5th of July, and that's at Stowmarket, the Mix at 7. And that's going to be just an environment to all get together, and there's going to be some music that again is specifically designed for people of our generation. There's going to be like a presentation, TED Talk kind of thing that is specifically designed for people of our age, that you're going to be able to bring your mates along to, and if they believe the same things or don't, they should be able to enjoy it still and be part of it. But we also know that if we're going to have this kind of crazy, all-in, loving people, something that's not just dismissible, not something like, oh, I can love people and I can be nice on my own, but like a proper community of people who genuinely will throw it all to the wind to love other people. We know you can't do that just one Thursday a month, so we're meeting in homes. We're going to eat together because that's just a great thing to do. Like, who doesn't love food and kind of chatting about life, and we'll kind of help each other grow in those situations. And then we're going to do some social action stuff, so just figure out what the community needs and ask nothing of them, just go and give ourselves away and kind of help and serve and love people where we can. And we've got kind of these podcasts and YouTube videos and social media stuff. So we want it to really feel like a gathering that you can be part of 24/7. So we've got all these kind of different facets of the gathering that mean that you can kind of be part of it and stay part of it and stay engaged and stay growing. And because we don't want you to just come to an event once a month and kind of hear a nice talk and then go away and kind of, oh, I feel good, because a week later, a couple of days later, that's kind of worn off. And we want you to kind of build friendships and have a group of people that will really help you go away, so that people can look at you and say, I don't know if I believe what they believe, but I can't believe they would give that much for someone else with nothing in return. I think that's a radical thing. And as I said last week, our lives are judged by how well we give them away at every funeral. It's always about how well they love people, how well they use their life and leverage their life to benefit other people. We all know that that's true. So if that's what life's all about, if that is the secret ingredient, as it were, let's find a group of people that we can really do that with and do that well with. Because church has been overcomplicated in my life. There's always all these things you need to understand and believe until you can really get into it. And so it's hard, because you kind of think, I want to be all in, but I don't know what I think about this, and I don't know what I think about kind of these other peripheral issues. And
Eden's a place to work it out.
Or and
not care. Or just be you, come as you are.
And I think you might have heard it at church before. People always talk about kind of the Acts church, the church straight after Jesus' death and resurrection, as being like this boom, and it was exciting, and it was big, and like kind of how do we recreate that so it's like contagious and people want to be a part of it. And they were completely based off the fact that they believed there was a God who stepped into humanity and died because he loved people, and then invited other people to go and love other people away as well. We've been forgiven. He's died on our behalf so that we can be free to go and love other people on his behalf. And that was it. They didn't have a Bible, so they didn't have to subscribe to a whole load of things.
Doctrine.
And they weren't having to subscribe to the Old Testament, because Jesus said it's all about loving other people, and that's how you're going to love God, and that's how we're going to have connection. And
Becky's rolling her eyes. Over to you, Bex.
No, I didn't want you to pick up on that. I thought that was the beauty of a podcast, is that I can react and then talk to him about it later.
Like a car bonnet.
No.
What do you mean, no?
What I want to pick up on from that is that underpinning all of this is that we know, right, it's not unique to millennials. Everybody, especially maybe in the West, there is this lack of meaningful, purposeful existence, really. We're caught up in these lives which have all these concerns and, how do I earn enough money? How do I do this? How do I do this? But also there's kind of a renewed interest in spirituality, if you like. Like, we want to believe in something that's bigger than ourselves. Maybe that's why we go after these big causes and try to make a big difference. Like, we want to believe that there is meaning and purpose, and that the world means something, my life means something. And really, yes, we want Eden to be a place where we can give away and love with all that we are, but really, first and foremost, we want it to be a place where we can experience what it means to be loved like that, what it means to have someone give all of themselves to you. That's what we believe that God did through Jesus, is giving himself, his own life away, so that we could have this sense of who we are and what life is about, and why we exist in the first place. And these are the sorts of things that we want people to be able to connect with, because we really believe, we wouldn't be doing any of it if we didn't think that there was a really good God who loved us, who was wants people to be his children effectively. And that's what I'm excited about, is being able to connect people into that and give people space to say, well, sometimes I've had a sense that maybe there's something more. Sometimes I've had a sense that there must be something, that happens after I die, or some reason for things. And we want people to have a space to ask those questions and ultimately experience the kind of love that is the reason we're sitting here in this room today.
Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
There's no pressure on Eden then. It's just like gonna enable us as a generation to figure out the meaning of life.
There you go. There you go.
But what is it aside from your involvement, Matt, and your involvement, Bex, which I'd love for you to talk a bit about how you're involved and what you're doing, but what does it mean for you? What's Eden going to do for your life? Is it just going to give you a list of jobs to do? What's it going to be for you? What's it going to mean to you? How's it going to make a difference?
Yeah. So I loved what Becky said there. I think to be reminded that there's a God who's in control, who loves you more than you can ever imagine, is just something that it just, that underpins everything. If that wasn't true, I don't know what I would do. That's kind of, life wouldn't be worth going on with it. So I think just to have a group of people who are reminding you that and who are helping you explore what that really looks like, because it's so much deeper than just him saying like God loves you. There's when you unpack that, it's just mind blowing. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that with a load of people. It's just I think the thing with it is that life's been quite easy, quite good for me up until this point. Mm-hmm. And like everyone, you have issues, and but I think about what life might have looked like if I didn't know that there was a God who loved me more than anything else, and where I would be as a result of that, and as a result of kind of the life lessons that come from following Jesus. And life would be significantly worse because I didn't know that. And I would love for my non-Christian friends to have avoided the things that they've kind of struggled with, and the issues of feeling like they're not good enough, or having to go and find value or self-worth somewhere else, and watching it blow up in their face and hurt people that I care about. And I would love Eden to stop that for people. I would love for people to be able to bring their mates and to see them avoid these things that we've been lucky enough to avoid. And kind of, just to save like broken hearts if possible. And I think it's just, there will be I think the best stories of Eden will be the ones that people don't tell because they've been a part of Eden. I think if you can look back and say, I've avoided this because of being a part of this group. I've got a bunch of friends who keep reminding me that they love me and that God loves me, and so I didn't have to go and try and find that somewhere else and get hurt by that. And I think that'll be awesome, and I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
And Bex, how are you involved? What are you doing for Eden?
So at the moment, my primary role is a backing singer.
Oh wow!
But I'm not just excited about dropping some great harmonies.
Yeah.
My excitement for Eden, I think, primarily is, definitely everything that Matt has just said, but for people to come along and rub shoulders with each other. You know, the millennial generation is no different from everyone else in that we often stick to our own. We spend a lot of time alongside people who are in similar life situations, similar life circumstances, similar socioeconomic background and all of these things. I'm excited for the possibility of people to be able to come together and for the reason that they're coming together, not to be just because they have something in common, but we're coming together to build community and build relationships where perhaps that would never have existed.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's what God has done for us, basically.
Absolutely.
And to experience that sort of group and to experience a community that has a purpose and something that people can really want to give all into, you know, not just I'll
There's
turn
an
up on
ownership aspect. I think like with the food nights, you're owning that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just going to be 1 hour every few weeks. It's not just going to be an occasional commitment. It will be something that people find themselves, like it becomes part of the rhythm of their life effectively. So they've got the food nights, they've got regular times where they're meeting together. And I think that makes a world of difference because it's easy to just, you know, sort of show your face and have little small talk with people when you're just doing something, you know, once a week or once a month. But when you eat together, when you meet together, when you serve together, when you do some sort of directed activity together, you find that sort of real life stuff comes out of that, you know, and people begin to open up and people begin to realize that they can find a place where they have some sense of belonging and purpose, and that just becomes part of the pattern of their life, really. So
absolutely. And what you said there is so true. We want to keep this conversation going. We want this to be so much more than just an hour a month at a gathering. That's why we've got food nights. That's why we're doing this podcast, is because we want to discuss and be a community all together. You are part of the community if you're listening to this. And we'd love to keep the conversation going. You can do that by, you can tweet me at Benjamin Lasky, but Eden also have their own Instagram. It's at Eden Gathering. The website is edengathering.co.uk. That's got all the information. That's where you can sign up for the food nights. And that's where you can see information for next gatherings, etc. Bex, thanks so much for coming again.
Oh, thank you.
How can people stay in touch with you?
I feel like this is just all for us to get more Instagram followers.
I mean, that is probably the drive.
My Instagram is Bex_Roberts. And my Twitter handle is @BexRoberts97. Or if you want to chat more, then drop me a line and I will give you my number.
Ooh. Nice. And Matt, how can we stay in touch with you?
At Banksy Matt on Instagram is a good place. I post regularly.
Too much, some would say.
Maybe too much.
In fact, I'm going to let you into a little behind the scenes. He's actually posting right now.
I'm currently on Instagram. I am.
So, well, go and see what that post is all about.
Or the Eden Gathering one, because we're shooting some music videos and we've got like loads of stuff in store with that. So I'll be around that a lot as well. So that's supposed to.
So Eden Gathering, 5th of July at the Mix and Stowmarket. Thank you, producer Alex. For producing once again this episode.
Definitely check out the website as well, because that's got all dates and times and things. So the eden.co.uk, the edengathering.co.uk.
What is it?
It's just edengathering.co.uk, isn't it? So that's the place to go to get directions and sign up for food nights and sign up for serving teams or sign up for social action stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we can't wait to see you, basically.
Yeah, we'll see you there on the 5th. I think I'm going to host, you're going to sing.
Yeah,
but mostly stuff. We're looking forward to Becky Roberts on the backing vocals to sing us out. Here she is.
You can't do a harmony by yourself. That's the one main floor.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.